Hello, everybody. This is Parker Hurley. This is day 21, 32-day NFL preview of the offseason for every team. I wrote questions back in May asking what's going to happen for each team. Going to go through those questions, find out what the answers were as the season has concluded. And then I'm going to come up with 5 more questions for the offseason that I'll answer after the draft and see how they solved those questions. So, the 21st team, we did the first playoff team yesterday with the Carolina Panthers. Check out all the 20 teams that I did on my YouTube channel, but we are on to the Green Bay Packers picking 21st. My first question with them was, what is going to happen with the wide receiver room? This was fresh off of them drafting Matthew Golden, and they have, Wicks, Doubs, Reed, and Christian Watson. Watson ended up missing some time. Reed missed a good chunk of the season. Dontavian Wicks did not really take a significant step forward. Matthew Golden flashed in moments and kind of finished on a high note, but the majority of his season, he was almost irrelevant in this offense. And you kind of just went through all of these guys were supposed to be options, or it was supposed to all come together. And wow, look how many pieces. But like I said, half the time, really Golden, Watson and Reed were hardly on the field for the majority of the early part of the season. Then Tucker Kraft gets hurt. Then Watson comes back. Watson ended up having a very good season by the end of it and was the most efficient receiver. But the only one I didn't name with issues was Romeo Doubs. So he ended up being easily the Packers' best receiver this season. And now he's a free agent. So obviously going to be interesting where they stand there, and going to be interesting to see what they think of Matthew Golden after investing a first-round pick in him. I think their plans were to ease him along slowly. So well, he probably didn't hit the goals that they thought he was going to hit. He still isn't far behind where they necessarily expected him to be. So gonna still really didn't get the answers that they got. Like I said, Watson and Reed, when healthy, still look good. Wicks looks like he's just going to be a depth receiver who they aren't going to want to extend or anything like that. So that's where they stand there. My question number 2 is, how can they create pass rush across from Rashawn Gary? They answered that very easily right before the start of the NFL season in trading for Micah Parsons. I didn't think they did enough after the draft, and I was obviously correct that they did not, because they needed somebody like Parsons. The issue is that Gary ended up having a bad season last year. Lucas Van Ness, when he was healthy and they had Parsons, Gary, and Van Ness on the field at the same time, was really excellent. It was by far his best play. But then he got hurt, and he didn't, fully come around by the end of the season, especially with Gary not playing a little bit better. It turned into Kingsley Enagbare having a pretty good season, and now he's going to be a free agent, and Green Bay would love to re-sign him, but he's now hitting kind of, like I said, a peak of production at the right time, where now he's hitting a market where there aren't going to be many productive edge rushers, and now he's going to, hopefully for himself, create a bidding war. So they did get the pass rush across from Gary. It's just disappointing that Gary wasn't very good. Third question, what's going on at quarterback? They added Nate Hobbs. He looks like a slot. Keyshawn Nixon looks like a slot. Javon Bullard played the slot last year. I was wondering what was going to happen there. First of all, Nate Hobbs hardly played this season, had injuries throughout the majority of the season, came back, was a little bit behind. So they started Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon on the outside. Javon Bullard stayed in the slot. I questioned whether he would jump it back to safety, but Evan Williams was so good at safety that they couldn't do anything about that. So Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney are your safeties. They had Nixon and Valentine on the outside, Bullard in the slot. Ended up being just fine. They could have improved on those outside spots. And when Hobbs played, interestingly enough, he was arguably best in Oakland or Vegas in the slot, but he played and it was expected to play outside last season. So whatever they do with the fact that he had such a nothing season and is now owed a big salary, do they keep him and now he starts on the outside next year, and they're going to bring back Valentine and Nixon so they could have them compete for the outside slots and have 3 guys out there? Or do they say this was a failed experiment with Hobbs, we need to move on? Going to be interesting to see what they do at cornerback, because they didn't really get the resolution that they wanted to. My fourth question was, can they get a resolution at linebacker? And they certainly did. I said they have Edgerrin Cooper, who started to come along towards the end of the season, but they still have Isaiah McDuffie, who started a significant portion of last year, and they added a couple other depth players. Turned out that Edgerrin Cooper took a real big step forward. He was one of their better defenders. Quay Walker's going to be a free agent, but it kind of is like they may be okay moving on from him because Edgerrin Cooper's ready to take that big step as their real top dog at linebacker. And then the last question was, where does Anthony Belton fit in? It's going to be his second year, or in the second round. If they drafted him in the second round, it's his first year. He was a left tackle in the NFL for NC State, but he projected towards a guard. They draft a lot of those guys. How did he fit in as a rookie? Turned out he was majority depth, but then as the season went along, Elgton Jenkins got hurt. They moved Sean Ryan from right guard into center, and Belton played right guard. And I think Belton's going to stick at right guard. He seemed like he fit in pretty well there, and that's going to move us into the next portion where I go through their roster moving forward. And they have Jordan Love at quarterback. Desmond Ridder and Kyle McCord are competing to be the backups with Malik Willis as a free agent. I think a lot of people who saw Willis play in those spot moments with Love concussed this year, and they saw, I think it was against the Colts in week 2 of last season, Malik Willis had a really nice start. So I think people are going to be excited about Willis, who had some draft buzz before he was drafted and kind of fell in the draft, but he had some buzz. So he's obviously physically talented. People are going to be excited about him. The question is, Ridder and McCord, I know Matt LaFleur is a quarterback guru of sorts, and I know McCord he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, and I know Ridder had some draft buzz as well. So does he see them as reclamation projects similar to Willis, or does he say, we can't win, I need a backup similar to Malik Willis, and they add somebody? I don't necessarily know how they feel. I think they're probably just going to run it back with those two, but I could also see them, taking some sort of, it would be interesting for them is the kid from Arkansas, the quarterback in like the 6th round. Would be interesting. So running back, Emmanuel Wilson's a restricted free agent, so Jacobs is going to come back. I think he'll be back. Marshawn Lloyd's been a disappointment, but he's in the mix. So like I said, Dubs is a free agent. I see no way that they would want to bring him back. The Packers' philosophy has clearly been to draft and develop and let them leave. That's been that way for like a long time. So I think what they're going to want to do, first off, I think they probably are going to draft another receiver that's going to be in the mix. But Christian Watson, when healthy, was an obviously good deep threat. Jaden Reed was an obviously good slot gadget type of player. If they could get Matthew Golden to improve, they have their 3 receivers, and then Wicks is probably going to be competing with Golden as that depth. And like I said, they'll probably bring in some sort of rookie to complete the room. But the real question is, are they going to extend Jaden Reed? And it looks like Christian Watson as well. I think they just extended Christian Watson this season. But so are they going to extend Jaden Reed is the big question. He's coming off of just 8 games, but when he's healthy, he's a pretty impactful player, and he really fits how Matt LaFleur likes to run offense. Same thing with Tucker Kraft when we move into tight ends. Are they going to extend him? I would think they have to, because the offense took a significant drop off without him. They are much better at running the football with him. And then he adds such a pass catching threat that Luke Musgrave doesn't get any respect as a blocker. And that was highlighted when he was out, when Tucker Kraft was out. And then John Fitzpatrick is a pretty good blocker, but he can't pass catch. So Kraft is a combination of Musgrave and Fitzpatrick, and they tried playing those two, and they couldn't get the one impact that Kraft gave them. So they have to extend Tucker Kraft, but otherwise they're going to be fine at tight end. Offensive line, like I said, Sean Ryan's a free agent, and their left tackle Rasheed Walker are free agents. I could see them moving on from both of them, because they could move Jordan Morgan to left tackle. They drafted him a couple of years ago. He's kind of been waiting for a starting spot to open up, and here it is at left tackle. Zach Tom should be back and healthy this year. Aaron Banks, they paid him a bunch of money to play left guard. Anthony Belton will be a right guard after he kind of finished the season there. And then it's just Elgton Jenkins got injured last season. They could save $20 million from moving on from him. He's 31. He wasn't as good at center as he was at guard. I could see them, first off, re-signing Ryan for like $8 million, and then they recoup 20 for Jenkins, and it's like a $12 million, net savings. I could see that. And then I could also see them even getting younger at center, going to the draft, going to a younger free agent, something along those lines. So center's their big question on the offensive line, and I do think they're going to cut Elgton Jenkins. Rashawn Gary's another interesting one. They could save $11 million cutting him. They could save like 20 something trading him. I could see a trade happening with so many edge desperate teams. And then because Micah Parsons is getting a lot of money and even more money is coming down the pike, and Lucas Van Ness is a first round pick who just needs to play more, in my opinion. He got hurt last year, but I know that. But you need to see what you have in him, whether you want to extend him or not. So he needs to play more. And then Kingsley Enagbare is a free agent, and that's another one. They could re-sign Sean Ryan and Enagbare and cut Gary and Jenkins, and they probably get younger, more impactful players at cheaper costs. So that could be what they do there, but they're going to need to do something along the edge. When Devontae Wyatt got hurt on the interior defensive line, their interior pass rush just was gone, and their defensive line was not nearly as good. So they have Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden, and both are free agents at the end of this season. I don't know, do you even want to extend either one of them? But then Warren Brinson's really your only other depth at this spot. He's a second-year guy, didn't do much as a rookie. So if you don't extend these guys, you really you're so thin. And then I think Wyatt you do extend because he's a free agent as well, and they obviously need him, and he was pretty good last season. But they were just so thin without him last year, and I don't see them wanting to extend those guys. But then if they don't extend those guys, they need to address interior defensive line heavily, probably in the draft, like sometimes the Packers do, where they draft the one position a couple times. I could see them double dipping like a second and a fourth round pick on interior defensive line. Linebacker, Quay Walker's a free agent. Like I said, I think Edgerrin Cooper's ready to take that step, but then they still need somebody to play next to him. And it'll be really interesting because Quay Walker will probably get a decent salary in free agency, but they have Isaiah McDuffie. So it'll be interesting to see where they stand on linebacker. I could just see them adding another cheap linebacker, letting Quay Walker walk. And then they bring back Valentine, Nixon, and Hobbs. So, I mean, they could try and trade Hobbs. He had a disappointing season, obviously, but it's so hard. And it's going to be so hard to upgrade over those three. And it's not a strength of their positions, but where they stand, they don't have a lot of assets. They traded their first round pick. While they don't have significant needs, you can see that, it's going to be tough for them to make big changes at cornerback. And then Bullard will obviously be in the slot. Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney are strong options at safety. So that pretty much does it for the Green Bay Packers. And we'll go through their positions of needing questions. Center, they just need to figure it out, whether it be Ryan or not. They're going to address center. Then I thought interior defensive line was a big need. Linebacker, if they don't bring back Quay Walker, and cornerback, I would just like to see them try and do something there, especially because they don't have a lot of significant needs. They're mostly running the roster back, but like I said, they don't have a lot of resources either. So my questions: do they extend Reed and Kraft? Do they cut Elgton Jenkins to re-sign Sean Ryan? And is the logical move Jordan Morgan to left tackle? Will they cut Rashawn Gary to re-sign Enagbare? Is that all they do to improve the edge rush? And then do they draft or re-sign players along the interior defensive line because they got to start thinking about the future? Do they re-sign Quay Walker? And then what do they do at cornerback? So that's what I'm looking for with the Green Bay Packers. I'm Parker Hurley. Check out the first 20 videos. Check out the 22nd video I'll be doing tomorrow. And we're just going to keep it going here. So we'll talk to you guys soon.